Yeah, so y'all, this is Minister Garrett Horton here. How y'all doing? I want to talk to y'all about this lynching of Michael Jackson some more. This is part two, and I want to talk about from African American my perspective on what the media is doing to Michael Jackson, how they've always treated black people in the media, how they've always treated black men wrongly, specifically in the media. I'm just here to give my opinion. First of all, let me just tell you that I'm a believer in Christ, you know what I mean? And I'm not a revolutionary in that sense by any means. I'm not into violence against any other color. I think all of the colors are beautiful. And I think that, like Martin Luther King's dream of us all walking together, that God gave him white men, black men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics. We could all sing in that spiritual free at last, thank God Almighty. He said, when we see the Lord. So I believe one day we will have peace. I believe the Lord will bring that peace. But in the meantime, we're not in that peace. We can walk in it in our hearts and through prayer and through communication. But there's the world peace is escaping us right now. But I know that the real battle is spiritual. It's not physical. So that's I want to get that out of the way. That again, I'm into reconciling and into us getting closer and understanding each other across the color barriers that people have in their mind. And that's really why I come to talk about this. But I still have to just tell the truth and shame the devil and be blunt about it because without no truth, there's no love. Without no understanding, there's no way to reconcile differences. And so we got to understand, and from a black man's perspective, you got to understand what's going on with Michael Jackson and also what's going on in the media, period, against African Americans. So, I mean, like the family called this a media lynching, and I totally agree. And when you look at the structure of the slave system and what we went through in America for 200 years of slavery, and again, looking at this, what was going on is the image of the black man in society, and it's always a negative image. And I believe that's by design. I just think that in order to keep people a slave, you got to make them look like a slave. You got to make them sound like a slave. You got to make them be perceived by people in that way so that when you take away the resources, when you treat them in a kind of way that you feel they shouldn't have human rights and so forth, you seem like you have the right to do that based on the fact that you've already established that they're not human. And that's the only way you can continue to do that. That by establishing their less than, by using propaganda tools, by using images that support your power. And that's what propaganda is all about. Everybody has used that. Every dictator has used that throughout history. When people were being dictators, they always want to, use propaganda to make themselves look larger than life, look them better, make them look better than others. And then they also demonize the people they want to oppress. And sadly, in this system in America, it's a color system. Before it was a classism system with the Roman government, or empires, with countless empires before then. They're using using classism and so forth. The French Revolution I always bring up to keep that division there. But in America, it's a division of color. And that didn't start in America. It started, in other areas too. Racism didn't just start here. Sadly, this is a nation in God we trust, and I believe we have that going for us, that we do know the Lord, but we don't always obey the Lord. We don't always obey what He taught. And racism is a twisting of the Bible. It's not biblical. God said we're all created equal. And with that said, how's this tying to Michael Jackson? It just seems like when it comes to Michael Jackson, people just think it's not racism foolishly. They somehow think it's not because he's lighter skinned, because he had a skin disease. Then the idea is that he is no longer a black man. This whole thing was not because he was black, and that's just totally ridiculous to think that. I mean, vitiligo is a disease. It doesn't mean you're not black. He was still black, and he will always be black. And he had a disease that took away the pigment of his skin, but he never forgot who he was. And if you look at the videos and the people that he employed in his videos, they're largely African Americans. His dance instructors were African Americans. A lot of people that he was working with, and the love interest, the way that he showed the black woman as a love interest in Remember the Time, and also as a black woman in The Way You Make Me Feel. Also in Thriller was a black woman. Now he diversified and did have other women, and that's not to say you can't love everybody and that every woman is not beautiful. That's not what I'm arguing here. What I'm saying is that far too often the black woman is not given the equal amount of respect. And what they do is flip it and say, oh, you're being, reverse racist. But that's not true. The point is still that there's a less amount of representation of black people in the media in a positive light. And there's a reason for that, because in order for you to keep the power structure in place, like I said, of resources and who's paid more and so forth, has a lot to do with how you make people perceive a person. And how you keep prejudice in place has to do with perception. And when Michael Jackson broke those barriers, and he began to even get the status equals money. Then that status equaling money just brought about a lot of hatred from certain factors, from certain powerful people who want to keep, like they say, keep the black man down. Now, I don't want to sound like, um, I don't want to sound, what's the word? I don't want it to sound like I'm just saying something, y'all. You heard this before, but I think we've become lulled into a kind of sleep because, we come so far and had so many open doors and we're kind of like, oh, racism doesn't exist. But today when I was looking at there's different shows I've seen, if you look at The Walking Dead, how many black men were just killed as cannon fodder, just kind of thrown to the wind, as a part of just as a plot piece. How we're always expendable, but not hardly given any roles. And I know everybody gets killed on that show, they say, but how long did these people stay on the show? What kind of meaningful story arc did they get? It's subliminal. You always seeing black men get shot. That's a meaning of how these people value African American. When you have somebody like Michael Jackson challenging that idea, he's not even supposed to be up there on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's not supposed to be, you know, seen as a love interest, as a sex object. And I'm not saying just to be a sex object, because I believe, don't lust and so forth. But I'm just saying a sex symbol, as they say in Hollywood, as a black man, and you reach that status, there's people that just are jealous of you and waiting for you to fall, waiting for something to happen. Kind of like Caesar, he gets to a certain amount of power, he gets a certain amount of reign. Some people are just literally they're just literally looking for something to happen to you. And then when you couple that with the fact now you've become so bold, you've gotten out of your place, and now you're even you back your rights to the Beatles catalog and so forth. You have broken all the rules. The rules. Um, there's subliminal rules there. Back in the South in Jim Crow law, there were certain rules that were established, and even though we feel like we've come very far, we haven't really come that far. It really wasn't that long ago. You couldn't look at a white woman back in the South without being beaten senseless or killed like Emmett Till. You couldn't even walk on the same side of the street. Here, this boy is from Indiana. Now people of all colors and white women are flocking to him to show him respect and love, and are willing to do anything to be around him or even marry him. And then he even has children. Even though we have come far, there's still people that frown upon that. Now, they can't do it in the open, because there's so many people that can see. But when you convince people Michael Jackson isn't black, first of all, you convince his people he's not black. And then you go from that to say that he's trying to be white. then you have black people now hating him, then they're not going to defend him when they see certain racist things happen. And then because he's trying to just go across the barriers and become cross cultural and become international, and also just because he's a loving person. That's the main reason why he did it. He wasn't doing it just for political gain. But I'm just saying that those in Hollywood who want to keep certain things the way they are, and I believe these people who were prejudiced, not only were they after the residuals and the money, but they were just point blank prejudiced. Some people in the mob that were connected to Tommy Mottola and so forth decided they were going to off Michael Jackson because he was more dead than alive. Now, the following of John Legend, Oprah Winfrey, you know, uh, who else? Mike Tyson. I mean, Mike Tyson, really? I mean, Mike Tyson, dude, talking about um, how to help raise a child is like Jeffrey Dahmer talking about I don't know how to people skills, how to have people skills. I mean, honestly, Mike Tyson was a monster back in the day. I respect him for his physical prowess and stuff, but back in the day, that man, they took him off his medication. He was about to kill people, and he was biting ears and stuff. So please don't be talking about Michael Jackson and how you feel he could be a better parent. I mean, I'm sure you've changed since then, and God bless you for that, man. But I mean, honestly, you're being a total Uncle Tom, and the reason why I'm being so harsh right now is because I mean, Michael Jackson set the pace for you. I mean, they set the stage for you to be able to be greater. All those African Americans together. Next time they're gonna come for you. Then what are you gonna do? You understand that that's just like when you take away from his good, all you're doing is taking away the whole good of all African Americans and what they've done. That's not about It's not about a race card now. This is about the fact that there's an attack on our culture, and they can label you a molester. And if they get away with that, they'll label you something, Mike Tyson. They'll label John Legend something. And I don't understand why they can't see that it's not conducive to getting to the crab in the barrel mentality and begin to attack others. Now, let's take it out of color. Let's just deal with the fact that justice is justice. And right and wrong. Nobody should be tried for things they didn't do. After they've been already tried in the courts, actual evidence was displayed. After people have even denied being hurt by this man, it is not just for them to come afterwards, after they're adults, come back and lie. After the evidence points to him being innocent, after the people themselves said that he was innocent, it's obviously a cash grab. And then you go and demonize anyone who defends him, anyone who says, hey, he can't defend himself. And obviously the evidence pointed against this. Leave him alone. Then you start saying, oh, all those people are fanatics. I mean, you're the fanatic. The man is dead. And you're still, if you're really going after him, it's not about justice because he's already dead. What's more justice can there be? If the man's dead, what else could you do to him? I mean, if you were to murder him, you couldn't murder him twice. You can't do that twice. So what's the point of you doing this? It's not justice. How many other people have you not gone after that are dead? I mean, would you kill them again? No, you can't. I mean, that's between them and God. You're going after them now, it's obviously money. But number two, he did not, like I said, number one, excuse me, not number two. Number one, he did not do it. Folks, he did not do it. People stop these black comedians who come out and all these people who have been Uncle Toms that used Michael Jackson over the years. Layers and layers of lies have got us to this point. And because no one stopped it, they have turned into a belief system for people. It's programming. And the people that's behind it are sitting back laughing because all they had to do was get the ball rolling. They didn't have to actually come out and attack Michael Jackson. Black people and our mentality of self-hatred and our comedians that have a crab in a barrel mentality were just like sharks with the blood in the water. And they just jumped right on it. Sharks will eat each other, folks. They'll eat each other. That's all they had to do is put the blood in the water. These people are just ready to pounce because they're so starving. Because As a people, a lot of us are starving and impoverished. We're getting the crab in the barrel mentality and just tear each other down. And I'm not saying let's take it out of color. I'm just saying if you look at any system in the world when people were impoverished and they are looking for something, they will result to that. Just like how black kids sell drugs to each other, and how gangs feed on each other, how pimps pimp our women. It's all a crab in the barrel mentality because of poverty. We got to get above that, and God is with us. Now, again, back outside of color, this is not about saying that, oh, this is about white people versus black people, because there's many Caucasian people who love Michael Jackson. There's many great people who are not racist, and this has never been about me saying all white people versus all black people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is there's a subliminal dialogue going on here, and that there are people that still have these things in their mind. Beliefs die hard. It's about your ideology. It's not about the individual. But there are people that still have a racist ideology. Just like there's people that's sexist. You can't look at two guys and see who's sexist and who's not. And then you can't say all men are sexist, but you know that it still exists. And you can't ignore it and say, oh, that's the sex card when some woman says, hey, I feel like I was violated. Just like also, we have to hear these people out. If they want to say that this is what happened to them, any victim claim, that the person claiming they should be a victim should be heard. But at the same time, you have to weigh what they say against evidence. You can't just take anyone's statement and go, oh, now we're going to do that. That's sensationalism now with all these media people doing that just because it's a tag, because it's a view. It's detestable. And all the good that Michael did, for it to be erased, also hurts the children of the future, because if men want to help children, if they want to give their money to support children, if they want to be like Michael Jackson, they're going to be afraid that they might be lied on. So what? More evil is being presented to the world because of some money. They won't help children. They won't help, like go as far as Michael Jackson, because people are afraid that they will be bullied, that they will have to go through that. And that's my last statement, that really the devil's after destroying Michael's example. Now, on the spiritual side of it, folks, I'm telling y'all, the Jacksons, I love y'all, but y'all need to get away from that Jehovah's Witnesses. You need to get away from that Islam. You need to get away from the New Age symbols, all that stuff, and the Kabbalah stuff. That stuff will open doors to the devil. The devil's behind this, but he's working through some doors. And I'm sorry that it got this far. I've been praying for y'all. I'm standing with y'all. I'm telling y'all, turn to the Trinity, turn to Jesus Christ, and all y'all who watching, say Jesus is Lord, because he's the only way. Thank you for watching my show. Part of me saying why Michael Jackson is being lynched. I'm going to probably have a third part too. God bless y'all. Peace. I'm sorry, I got to figure out how to do this thing a different way, because it's making me look all cockeyed. Y'all think I'm crazy. I don't know which way to look, here. But anyway, it should be right in the middle. That would make more sense, but I can't. That made me do a portrait. So peace, y'all. It's my opinion. Thank you. I'll be talking about the Avengers. I'm talking about DC versus Avengers. Thank you.